As you play with SwiftUI, you may notice that some views lay out differently than others. Views will lay themselves out on the screen in one of two ways. The views will either be greedy or not greedy. Greedy views are greedy because they take all of the space that is offered to it. So in this case, here's a color view, and placing a color view, it will take up all the space that it can. And text views are an example of a view that is not greedy because it only takes up the space that it needs to lay out its view. Greedy views have been called push-out views because they push out to fill the space that is offered to them. And views that are not greedy are sometimes called pull-in views because they pull in to take the smallest amount of space needed to fit their content. In the video on SwiftUI Basics, we talked about how views are laid out with parent and child relationships. Well, parent views give to their children views a certain amount of space to play in. And so a push-out view will push out to fill its parent view completely. So the parent will offer it a certain amount of space, but if it's a pull-in view, it'll only take a certain amount. So here's an example. In my content view, I have a text view, and this text view is a pull-in view. And it's a pull-in view because it's only taking the size that it needs to lay out the view itself. Okay, but if I use something like color, for example, let's do color.blue, well, that will fill out the entire space. So I said earlier that child views will take up space depending on what their parents give them. So I talked about earlier this parent and child relationship. If it is a push-out view, then the child will take as much space as the parent offers it. So in this case, the parent view is the root view. It's like the view that contains all other views that your app could possibly have. And so it gives it this space, but you'll notice that it has these areas at the top and bottom. That is called the safe area. And if you want, you can remove the safe area by adding this modifier, edges ignoring safe area, and then you can say all. And it will take up as all of the space that the root view has to offer it. Let's delete that here and go back to our text view. Our text view, on the other hand, is a pull-in view because it only pulls in the smallest amount that it needs. Shapes are also a push-out view. So one type of a shape is a circle. So it will take as much space that is offered to it, but it will still maintain its width and height in terms of the way that the shape looks on the screen. If you want the circle to be a smaller size, then you have to tell it explicitly what size you want it to be. So in this case, I'm going to tell it that I want a width of 100 and a height of 100. And it will take that space and it won't take any more. Well, what happens when I do the same thing to a pull-in view? So let's add this text back here. Well, a pull-in view will do the same thing. It will give a frame of 100 by 100 that, like I defined, but you won't really see that unless you're in this preview mode here. If I want to do a live preview, then you can see that I can't see that. If I wanted to see that, I would have to add a background. So I'll add a background color blue. And there you'll see that this blue color is filling the entire frame. What happens if I change the order of these modifiers? Well, if I change the order of the modifiers, what it will do is it will create a background around the text view, and then it will create that frame. So the order of these modifiers really matters when laying out your views. And this is a good thing because being able to order your modifiers like this gives you very clear control over how you want your views to look on the screen. So here's just a list of all the different types of views that are push-out views and the types of views that are pull-in views. I'll also place this list in the comments below.